Hi, Janice. Thank you for joining me today. For anyone who's viewing today, Janice and I are going to have a conversation about creativity in this new normal that we're living in. Janice, why don't you take a moment just to introduce yourself, please?
Sure. Thank you so much, Sarah. So I am the Vice President of Communications at ViacomCBS Networks International, where I'm responsible for leading the communications for our youth and entertainment brands outside of the US. That includes MTV, Comedy Central, Paramount Network.
Okay, so you work for an organization that has a giant platform, and I can only imagine how the last several months have been for all of you. Can you talk to me a little bit first about your role in communications, how that's shifted and evolved?
Absolutely. I think, the role of communications has never been more important. There's an even bigger spotlight on internal communications and how that influences culture, particularly while we're all at home and working in this kind of new world. And additionally, externally, things are changing at this breathtaking pace, especially in the news cycle. What's relevant today may not be relevant tomorrow. So it's really critical that we're agile, that we adapt creatively, and that we're able to kind of shift directions really quickly.
So, one of the things that I've noticed as I've been talking to a lot of people through this is that initially, as we're dealing with all of the change that's happening, there's a lot of kind of internal work that happens, or a lot of internal focus
Mhm.
dealing with your own circumstances and all the different layers of crisis and challenge that you're facing. How do you address that in working with your employees to help spur creativity and encourage that avenue that's so important to the business that you're in?
Well, I think it's really important that you really create kind of lay the groundwork for your teams to really connect with each other and also connect to the business in a really important way. So 3 ways that we've really focused on creativity and making sure that our teams stay connected. The first is really upping our live sessions, and that's that face-to-face interaction where you can't be in the room, but you can, of course, be on video. So I think it's critically important that, one, you're doing that in your team meetings, but then also that we're using this time to equip, engage, and inspire our employees around issues related to the business, topics that align with our values. So, for example, we recently did a panel on pride and celebrating pride from home, and looking at how our employees are out and proud around the world. And it was this really incredible panel where we were able to hear from thought leaders from around the world. We had someone from South Africa, we had someone from Singapore, we had someone from the UK, and really giving their own perspectives on the LGBT community and opportunities and on-screen representation around the world. And also we've really looked at adaptive creativity and how our teams are kind of leaning into this moment and really adapting to make sure we're still connecting with audiences. The second is really around elevating voices. So we know we operate in 30 countries around the world, so it's a lot, and you really need to find a way to elevate those voices of the people who do have big ideas, because we know great ideas come from everywhere. So we found we use a platform called Idea Drop, where we put out challenges to the whole entire organization to say, like, here's something we're really thinking about. We want your ideas. And it's been an incredible platform where we've actually gotten ideas that have made a tangible impact on the business. And then the third is really celebrating those wins. As I mentioned, it's really important that employees are kind of connected to the business and to each other. So we, on a very base level, we do a bi-weekly internal that's really meant to be short bites of news and celebrating the work that's happening around the world. And then one of my favorite activations that we've done is really simple but really powerful, and it's called Employee of the Month. And it's meant to be a little campy, but the idea is really rooted in saying thank you and recognizing the work that's being done, whether that's someone who's sitting in the Hungary office who's really doing something innovative that's making a big impact on the business, or alternatively, one of my favorite stories, it could be just being an amazing human being. So one of my favorite stories is one of our employees in the Milan office who is doing an incredible job at work, but also his family owns a bakery. And when this pandemic, first started, he was out there delivering baked goods to people around his neighborhood to make sure, like to the elderly who couldn't go out shopping, to make sure that they were also having access in a safe way. So it's really celebrating those employees, and there's such a power in saying thank you, and people really want to be recognized, and I think it makes a difference.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think that those are some of the things that I've been hearing too, is that people need and crave the connection more than ever, even though there's comfort in being home or somewhere else, and
Mhm.
being in the office if that's how people are feeling. Although I'm starting to see that that's shifting now too. People are kind of feeling like, all right, I'm ready to start seeing people.
I know. It's hard.
But I did have one other kind of follow up question to what you were just talking about. All of those efforts that you've undertaken, have they been adaptations of things that you've always done? Have they been new things or a combination of both?
I think it's a combination of both, but what I would say is that it's all more. Like we have always done these live sessions, but I think now we're really upping it and doing it with more frequency because it is so important to make sure that people have an understanding of the strategy, because it's very easy to get kind of lost in the shuffle if you're at home, but making sure that those programs are available to keep those elevating those voices and bringing the strategy and kind of the important messages to everyone around the organization is so, so important during this time.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's shift a little bit to the business of your business and production and entertainment. How do you do that when you can't come together?
Yes. So it is a challenge that our teams around the world have really been focused on, as you might expect, because we have to continue entertaining our audiences. We have to connect with them. So it's really been, all this change has been fuel for innovation. And it's really made our teams kind of take a step back and say, what can we do right now? So, in the US, you're seeing the Daily Show with Trevor Noah is now the daily social distancing show, where he's producing from his couch. And then internationally, I mean, we've seen productions be greenlit in record speed, because we're really looking to try new things. We're producing a version of MTV Cribs internationally with iPhones, which if you had asked us a while ago, we'd be like, no, that won't work. But now, it really is giving us a lot of license to, adapt and to try new things. And I think there's an idea that, there's some level of forgiveness with the audience to say it's not perfectly polished, but it's all about the kind of heart of the stories that's most important. So.
Hmm. That makes sense. And I did have a chance to watch some of them, and I was really impressed with the quality and the entertainment factor of them. So I would say you're doing a great job. I'm actually really excited to see how the industry as a whole continues this going forward, and what are some of the things that will be lasting change versus
Mhm.
have to do this right now because this is the circumstances.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of it you'll see will continue. Teams are moving really, really fast and trying new things. And I think a lot of it will continue well beyond this moment in time.
Okay, so the last few questions that I have are related but different. Since we started talking, we were talking about the impact of change on the way that you're working.
Mhm.
And we're dealing with so many different types of change, right? And in thinking your career, you've really focused a lot on social justice and racial equality. And I oftentimes think about you when these issues are really percolating, because you work for an organization that has a giant platform that's really focused on youth, and you are part of the movement. And talk to me about what you've been seeing, what you've been thinking, and what you've been doing during this time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as a brand that has a huge youth demo audience, young people are on the front lines of change, and we have to be right there with them. And I think it's critically important. MTV, for example, is in 180 countries around the world, and I think what we've seen is this isn't an American issue. This is really a human issue, and it's critically important that we are using our platforms to really be part of that change and to drive change and to act as a megaphone for our audience to elevate and empower, and give them, an additional spotlight where they can really drive change. So that's something we've been hugely focused on. And I think it's also this moment in time, it's really important. It's an inflection point, and it's a moment for all organizations to kind of look at yourself and how you can do better internally. But then also, again, for us, because we are an entertainment company, we do have, again, like a responsibility and an opportunity to use our platforms and to be, really loud in terms of working with our audience to drive change.
Thank you so much, Janice, for talking to me today. I've loved talking to you, and I'll talk to you anytime.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and same.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.